This is Pukeology Podcast, where science meets your hilarious puke stories and the tips and tricks to stop that up chuckle that you need.
You never know what's going to spew out of her mouth. Here's
my mama,
Dr. Puke Nomo.
What can a cave woman teach you about sleep while you're pregnant? Everything! Today's mission is to get you some of your best night's sleep by learning the physiology behind sleep patterns and 4 tricks that you can do to put your mind at ease and get a great night's sleep tonight in today's episode of Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 42, Pregnancy Affecting Sleep. Want no more morning sickness, pregnancy nausea, or how about no more headaches or migraines? Visit our sponsor, NomoNausea.com, the only natural way to instantly stop your worst nausea, vomiting, or headaches now. Or just place Nomo Nausea Ban on your baby registry for your delivery bag at Bye Bye Baby, or get it shipped for free in just 2 days on Amazon as a Prime vendor. And remember, your little ones are always taken care of with the first Kids Edition, Nomo Nausea Kids and Nomo Sleepless Nights Kids at your local CVS store. Pick one up today, especially because don't you want a great night's sleep? And you can have one if your little ones do too. Again, that's Nomo Sleepless Nights. Go grab it at CVS. You'll also hear some pregnancy humor that may just make you want to pee your pants. Like you don't have to pee all the time anyway, with hilarious stories like The Bend and Snap Pregnancy Edition, YOLO, You're Way Over, and Calamari Adult SpaghettiOs. If you want to learn more about your pregnancy, humor and knowledge is the key to help you survive these 9 months. And just know we're in this together. Today, you will learn the science behind both the physiological and psychological factors causing you not to be able to sleep in any trimester by using studies of the early cavemen and women. Is there a tea that can really help to put you over the moon with sleep? Yes. And which spice inside of your spice cabinet can actually put you into a deep sleep, and a few other natural remedies to give you the best night's sleep. Here we go in today's Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 42, Pregnancy Affecting Sleep. The science of puke, Pukeology. Most women face sleeping difficulties when they're pregnant, especially during the first trimester, because you seem to be exhausted and have to sleep a lot. Well, pregnancy can actually lead to insomnia because you feel tired throughout the entire day, but then you just can't put your mind at ease. Insomnia, or difficulty in falling and staying asleep, becomes very common during the first and third trimester. It's caused by leg cramps, breast tenderness, heartburn, back pain, nausea, or the tendency of having frequent urination. You have to constantly get up in the middle of the night, and if you do, you're not able to get into that nice deep sleep called REM. But don't worry, because insomnia will not affect your baby. You do need to be in a good headspace because your psychological factors can, on the other hand, affect the child. Adequate sleep dates back to cavemen and women who on average had at least 8.5 hours of sleep, according to a study that was done on hunters and gatherers by the University of California. So when the sun goes down, they went to sleep. And when the sun came up, they knew they needed to start working. Isn't that us? It's just we're various thousands of years different. Sleep is the one way that we can actually reduce inflammation, stress, heart disease, and even improve your immunity. Let me make sure that I said that, especially during these times where coronavirus and COVID-19, we're not talking about keeping up with wellness, and I believe that we should be, because your immune system is how you would fight any virus, regardless of where it comes from. So you need to be able to get a great night's sleep every night. And let's face it, guys, we're all at home. So let's get a good night's sleep and make that your wish to yourself. You need to be getting at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. And if you're a young child, make that on the 9-10 hour line. But in today's day and age, who's actually getting that much sleep? I know it's not me because I'm a mom of two. The circadian cycle for sleep and melatonin, the sleep hormone, those production levels start by increasing the levels later in the evening for adults. So let's bring out those light blocking curtains, those blackout curtains as we like to call it back in the 80s, and take us back to the cave. What I mean by that is that the new study of the Journal of Psychological Reports show that children respond better to going off to sleep when there is no or very low light that was utilized at least 1 hour before the anticipated sleep. It works the exact same for adults. This study shows that we can actually start secreting melatonin, the sleep hormone that's secreted by the pineal gland, and it communicates neurologically with the body's internal clock, which is the hypothalamus. Around 7:47 p.m. is what they found. So this was like our natural biological clock. And as you guys know, regardless of what time zone that we're actually in, your body starts to kind of slow down and want to start going off to sleep right around that 8 p.m. So that biological nighttime is when the bedtime routine should be starting. Especially if you have children, make sure that you start to get them, in bed, showered, bathed, all that other good stuff. Right around 7:30 is that time where they're actually in bed by 7:45. So then you, as parents, can be in bed right around after 8. And if this is your first baby, I must say that this is something to look forward to. Have those babies in bed by 7:47. The cave environment was actually considered the best. So get some blackout curtains or install like a low light dimming switch and keep the light very low right around bedtime. They also found that when exposed to light, even after darkness, showed 50% less melatonin levels than if they were just kept in the dark prior to bed. And bright light alone suppressed melatonin by over 90%. So those of you guys who are workaholics and have your phone right next to you and all of a sudden you get a big bright light when somebody is trying to call, make sure that you set it on what's called nighttime routine, where there is no blue light filter and there is no elevation of light whenever you are trying to sleep. We'll talk more about this inside of the tips and tricks section. So how does pregnancy affect physiology? Well, the estrogen and progesterone are major hormones that are affected in pregnancy. High levels of progesterone lead to the enlargement of certain internal organs. For instance, during pregnancy, the size of the uterus can increase up to 5 times its normal size at the end of its gestation period, meaning delivery. For an average pregnancy, the mother's weight is expected to increase by 9 to 12 kilos. And if we are here in the US, you just multiply that by 2.2. Here's a really awesome tip, just in case you've never heard of this before. So an easy way to do that is you take the actual number of pounds, if you want to convert it to kilos, divided by 2, and take 10% of that difference and subtract it. Really fast, right? That's why I'm the doc. If you are pregnant with more than one fetus, the weight can also increase significantly. The increase in weight depends upon the number of babies that you have inside of your uterus and or that little hot tub. The size of the heart may also increase due to pregnancy because you have much more blood and actual body water composition that's circulating. Hence why pregnant women get all these like stuffy noses. They always sound like they have allergies, which could be the case, but it's much more common that they have this stuffiness within the nose. The blood volume also increases during pregnancy to provide extra blood flow through to the placenta, delivering oxygen and other nutrients to the baby. Well, when you're delivering, you have to remember that your body is trying to compensate for about 500 to 1,000, also known as 1 liter, of blood loss that could potentially happen during natural childbirth or during a C-section. Now, your blood volume also increases due to an increased number of red blood cells. Okay, this is actually increasing the amount of circulation and it increases your blood plasma volume, meaning that you have a lot more blood to pump with all those little blood carrying carts inside of your body while you're pregnant. Progesterone lowers blood pressure, particularly in early pregnancy, due to the slight relaxation of the vessels of blood. So again, Progesterone is that relaxation hormone, but it also is what binds the baby whenever you get pregnant immediately, right? So when you first get pregnant, you need to make sure that you get really sticky. So that egg itself is actually sticks to the wall. The progesterone ends up increasing due to that. Now, reduced blood pressure, which is very common in pregnancy, causes dizziness. So if you have never had high blood pressure and you are actually having high blood pressure during your pregnancy, we are a little bit concerned and want to make sure that you are followed by a doctor, because preeclampsia or full-fledged eclampsia, where you're having seizures and high blood pressure, really, we want to make sure that we get that baby out. And so again, this is something that a lot of OBGYNs as well as midwives will be taking a look at and constantly monitoring your blood pressure. But in most cases, many of you will actually have lower blood pressure than usual because of what we had talked about. That increased progesterone will cause a relaxation to the blood vessels. Hence, you relax the blood vessels and your blood pressure decreases. As the baby grows, you may experience indigestion or shortness of breath because you're crowded, right? The baby actually pushes up on the actual diaphragm. The lungs, they don't physically touch them, right? But it moves everything up and pushes your stomach up higher as well. All of these things crowding that area makes it a little bit hard to breathe. If you notice that you have any type of palpitations or increase like a high heart rate real quick and it's not due to stress, you may want to go discuss this with your doctor, because of the fact that mitral valve prolapse is something that happens in a lot of pregnant women and is a sign whenever you have that deet, 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 wherever it ticks up. And if it's doing that repetitively, or if you're getting really dizzy whenever you stand up, please go see your doctor and let's go take a look at what's going on with that heart. Now, during pregnancy, the gastrointestinal system and walls slightly relax. The speed which food moves along the gut reduces and creates room for maximum absorption of nutrients into your blood. You're feeding two, not just one. But remember, ladies, if you do want to know more about what you should be eating, go take a look at Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 2 and 5, and you'll see what you should and should not be eating. And this is why we recommend right around 120 extra calories a day on top of your normal caloric intake when you're pregnant. Sadly, you may experience constipation or nausea, but Nomo, thanks to our sponsor, Nomo Nausea, it stops 80% of morning sickness and or pregnancy-induced nausea and vomiting even during delivery. And it's natural, utilizing a 3-in-1 essential oil-infused acupressure wristband that smells great, looks great, and even better, it makes you want to actually wear it because you feel so much better afterwards. You also experience frequent urination, because during the start and toward the end of your pregnancy, due to the increased size of the uterus, it presses against the bladder. And if you're anything like my son when I was pregnant, he literally would kick me all the time, and I feel like I was like a little sprout or a fountain of pee. Stretch marks may appear during pregnancy. It's very common, ladies, and actually we found that it is a genetic trait, much more so than anything else, meaning as much cream or butter or whatever it is, that craziness that you guys have looked up on the internet, it doesn't mean that you won't get it. Vice versa, just because your mom had it doesn't mean that you will. So there is a dual factor in that. Stretch marks themselves are caused by a hormonal change and a mechanical, can't say that word today, stretching of your growing breast and your abdomen. And ladies, it is also on your butt too. So if you're anything like me, I grew my Latin self, I grew out the back much more than the front. And so I have little stretch marks on my booty still. And I wasn't expecting it. I was only expecting it on my belly. We actually have an entire podcast dedicated to stretch marks. So if you're really interested on what that factor is, go on over and take a look at Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 16, Stretch Marks. Now, they are caused by hormonal changes, as we said, the mechanical stretching of these different areas. But again, remember that your breasts also need to get bigger so that they can actually feed your child, and they will start to produce colostrum in the second trimester. So all of these physiological entities are changing your body. Your hormones are changing, and it's making it very uncomfortable. So if I can give you any advice, it's okay. Many women struggle with sleep, but after the next edition in your tips and tricks section, you guys won't have that problem, and you'll actually be giving it advice to other pregos or other of your best friends who may potentially be pregnant. But while we're talking about such a non-lighthearted subject, let's get our laugh on with some hilarious puke stories.
Throwing up on a Tuesday? One puke story.
Throwing out your back is no fun, especially when you're 8 months pregnant. And all I wanted to do was to get my car keys. Let's just say I snapped my back, literally, which was followed by tons of vomit from pain. For the rest of my pregnancy, I had to think about how important it is for me to get the item. If not, I'll just look at it and it stays on the floor until my husband gets home. Thanks, Cheryl, TREVVV, for that hilarious puke story. It's Christmas morning, and I love to get up before the kids so I can see their little faces of excitement when Santa came. The only problem is I'm only a few weeks pregnant, exhausted, and nauseous all the time. Once I heard the pitter-patter of little feet, I had to try to force myself to get up because putting that bike together with the training wheels took all night long. The second I jumped up out of bed, I felt like I had just gotten off of a roller coaster and puked everywhere. The kids ran into my bedroom thinking I was sick, so my Christmas morning surprise of telling them that they were having another sibling was ruined. Oh, Elena, ELENA, BJXRN, thank you so much for that hilarious puke story. Seafood is my biggest pregnancy craving, from fish, squid, and even calamari. Side note, I really think this is turning into a disaster, just reading it. I can't get enough. We were with a bunch of friends, and I was trying to pretend that we weren't expecting. I bought the round of shots to make sure mine had water in it. I ate tons of calamari. I ordered 2 for my side of the table. And then after all the excitement, I went to kiss my husband and I smelled the alcohol on his breath and literally threw up in my soup bowl. It was a knee-jerk reaction. Better in the soup than in his mouth. Ew. Anyways, I looked down and I guess I never chewed my food, so it looked like grown-up SpaghettiOs with whole pieces of calamari when it came back up into my tomato bisque soup. I'm still traumatized by that sea creature, and everyone thought I was just super wasted. NWANYI Ocha, OCHA, Nawani Ocha. Thank you for that hilarious puke story. Do you have a hilarious pregnancy story that you just can't wait to share with me? Send it to me. Pukeology, PUKEOLOGY at NOMONAUSEA.com. Again, that's Pukeology at nomonausea.com, or tweet me at Pukeology so we can all have a good laugh. Tips and tricks to stop the up chuckle that you need. Sleeping on your back while pregnant. It's okay up until your 3rd trimester. So during your last trimester of pregnancy, you should avoid sleeping directly on your back. You actually want a little bit of uterine displacement. And by that, I mean that researchers show that sleeping on your back may actually increase the risk of having a stillbirth due to compression of your major blood vessels that alters the baby heart rate. Now, that's actually what's considered your vagus nerve, is what will actually control this. But you have to remember that your aorta as well, your descending aorta, is what can be potentially compressed with all of this extra weight. So you always want to tilt on one side or the other. Right uterine displacement, it's basically where you kind of put a little bit of weight underneath that hip, and then your belly just slightly flops over. Remember, especially if you're really active, taking group exercise classes and stuff like that, that you never just lay flat on, the bench bench or whatever that may be. And again, they always recommend nothing more than 20 pounds in your first trimester. So the reason that you want to continue to sleep on that uterine displacement side is after 20 weeks of pregnancy, because you might actually experience dizziness and shortness of breath. The best position that you can actually be in or sleep in during the third trimester is on your side. So get one of those gigantic, like lovable big body pillows and wrap those legs or knees around it to actually help those hips, because remember, all of that relaxin, which is a pregnancy hormone, when you're in your third trimester, you can actually, it relaxes everything to open up your hips so that whenever you're ready for delivery. I will say that remember, when you really relax, open those hips, if you don't support it adequately, what do you think is happening when your knees are slammed shut while you're sleeping? Your body will wake you up saying, hey, I got back pain, or hey, I got knee pain, or even worse, hey, I have hip pain. So make sure that you kind of combat it before it starts to become a problem. Some doctors recommend sleeping on the left side, arguing that sleeping on the left facilitates blood flow more so freely to your baby. So again, talking about that right uterine displacement, flip a little bit of a pillow over on that right side, and it flops everything over to the left, allowing you to stay away from the two largest vessels, one, your artery, and two, your actual vein that come up to be able to supply blood continuously throughout your body. Pick any side that you feel comfortable sleeping on, because there's really no difference in sleeping on either side, especially if you are on fully your right or your left side. You can also use a variety of pillows like we talked about to support your body parts as you get used to side sleeping, especially if you are a back sleeper naturally. Waking up on your back during the last trimester, don't worry about it, guys. It shouldn't raise an alarm. Your body will naturally fidget and move over if you are having difficulty breathing. That's kind of like the people who have obstructive sleep apnea, right? They kind of breath hold and then their body wakes them up. Well, the reason why their body wakes them up is because the carbon dioxide, or that gas that your body breathes out. So you breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. But that level of carbon dioxide increases so much, the brain starts to sense it. And your brain says, oh my goodness, I have to take a breath. And so your body will naturally do this. This is in your subconscious. So you don't have to worry about it. If you do wake up on your back, don't freak out. It means that your body has taken care of you. You got a very good night's sleep, and yada, yada, yada. Let me introduce you, though, to moon milk, okay? So a lot of people, especially pregnant women, are always saying, I just can't get a good night's sleep. I'm exhausted. If you are napping during the day, that's actually good. It's okay. It's actually good to nap. But I mean that full-on REM, 8 hours of sleep every night that you should be getting. And if you're not able to either turn your brain off or you're not able to really get into a good groove, let me kind of help you out here and tell you the tea that I personally like. So moon milk is a combination of warm milk. Make sure it's warm, not cold, with nutmeg and ashwanda to help combat against sleeplessness. Now, nutmeg, when ingested, breaks down into 3 different components that both helps to decrease everyday stress, it blocks excitatory hormones, and has a mild natural sedative effect at high concentrations. Don't worry, the amount that you're drinking is nothing in comparison to what the baby will actually receive. And even though the baby has a very underdeveloped liver whenever it's actually connected to you, they still will be filtering things. So you don't have to worry about the baby, sleeping too much. He's in the spa, jacuzzi, right? So what else is he going to do? Or she, I should say. If you make your own nutmeg tea, you should use about 1/4 of a teaspoon. Make sure that you use the same amount of ground ashwanda. So again, put that inside of one of those little balls, those little tea, I don't know, they make flowers out of them and all kinds of things these days, but it's like a tea steeper. So you want to put the same amount of nutmeg as you do the ashwanda, dip it in there so that you don't have any big clumps. Ashwanda, absolutely love this for stress and also for sleep. It is a leaf that is rich in triethylene glycol, which actually helps you to produce REM sleep, which is REM. Everybody talks about REM sleep. What REM sleep means is non-rapid eye movement sleep that has been studied to help correct the imbalance of the central nervous system. So we have various, you'll hear of, alpha, beta, gamma. You'll hear of all of these different brain waves that your body goes into. And when you're in this REM sleep, if you've ever watched a dog sleep, okay, the rapid eye movement where it's like constant means that they're in this excitatory stage, that they're not down deep inside of their sleep. Once they get to the non-rapid eye movement, that's where, again, you're in that deepness, right? That deep sleep. So better communication signals sleep now to the brain. So Ashwanda actually will communicate that message to help to put you to sleep. And these two active ingredients, nutmeg and ashwanda, mixed with warm milk, gets you and even your little ones closer to counting sheep with every sip they take. Moon milk. Okay, so here's the recipe, everyone. A teaspoon of honey, coconut oil, a half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and, just like we said before, 1/4 of a teaspoon of nutmeg, and the same 1/4 of a teaspoon of ashwanda. Make sure that you smell the tea, right? Because the most active ingredients and form of nutmeg expresses dopaminergic and GABA hormones for sleep happen via aromatherapy. Another aromatic essential oil is lavender in combination with acupressure that's found at the HT7 point inside of Nomo Sleepless Nights, which is a stylish nighttime wristband. And it is on nomowristbands.com, walmart.com, Amazon, and located in over 6,000 CVS stores, even for your little ones, Nomo Sleepless Nights kids. Research finds that the 3-in-1 combination actually helps to put people off to sleep quicker and keeps them asleep longer with this multimodal approach. The best position for the adult airway can be obtained by a small folded blanket underneath of the shoulders. So now we're talking about what mechanically can you do. Or sleeping on your side moves tissues to the back of the neck for better oxygenation, less snoring, and trust me, your partner will thank you as well. Just think of like a small ramp idea. This position is especially helpful when sick, so that your nasal congestion or mucus runs down with gravity. You may also want to consider a humidifier, eucalyptus oil, or Vicks on the chest to help open the airway. Snoring really loud and lack of getting oxygen, similar to the minor obstructive sleep apnea, will cause them to wake up abruptly, like we talked about, because of that CO2 increase or elevation. If you notice that you're stuffier at night, it's probably because you are pregnant, or it can be because you have an allergy to some sort of composition that you have in your pillow, such as down feathers or latex are very common allergens. The laundry detergent that you use, try something natural or with no fragrances, because if it's too hard, right? Too harsh, I should say, whenever you are putting it around the skin, your face is the most sensitive of your skin. So it will actually restrict the ability to be able to breathe in deeply because you're breathing in allergies. So think about that as another helpful hint. We already discussed your sleep cycle and how light determines the amount of sleep hormone that you produce. But what about all the light producing technology that goes around you 24/7? Your eyes are more sensitive to light because your pupils are larger, which hits the retina and creates an even stronger signal to the internal clock. Television, computers, cell phones all contain blue light wavelength that can suppress your body from creating melatonin. Don't look at your phone or watch television for 45 minutes before you sleep. And for those of you who use TV for a sleep aid, this study shows that you actually have more awakeness inside the middle of the night than those people who don't use television to go off to sleep. Noise can also be imperative for some to try to fall asleep. So try white noise, the sounds of nature, or even a fan or an air purifier instead. Grab a book. not a Kindle, and start to read. A physical book, everyone. According to the University of Sussex, 6 minutes of reading before bed can reduce stress by 68% and prepare your body for bed. Your eyes, even with your eyelids closed, is still super sensitive to light. So if you find it difficult to wake up in the morning, try getting a sunrise clock that keeps increasing the light as the time goes by whenever you need to approach. It's the same thing as instead of your mom coming in whenever you were young and flipping open the curtains to wake you up, it's like imagine increasing the amount of light and you will slowly start to wake up natural. Hence why we Homo sapiens from the cave in modern day were accustomed to going off to bed whenever the sun sets and going and waking up whenever the sun rises. It's that natural utilization of light as you go down and then back up from the sleep cycle. Now, if you're still struggling to sleep with all of those natural entities that I've told you to try, from moon's milk tea to decreasing the light intensity, turn off those blue wavelengths of light that you actually have, try some noise. If none of those things are working, you may want to consider sleeping pills. Now, you guys know I am all natural, right? I'm all about things that are natural, and there are natural prescribed sleep medications. So if you find it really hard to fall asleep at night, as a last resort, you may want to consider one of these sleep natural medications. These are certain prescribed sleep medicines like valerian and melatonin that you can take, but please take them carefully and always consult your OBGYN. Even whenever you're taking like high amounts of melatonin, just because they're found in a gummy or a juice or a vitamin or whatever that may be, doesn't mean that they're safe to be taken with pregnancy. And remember, melatonin was actually only made to help with jet lag. And by that, I mean, it only helps to change the cycle. It doesn't help you to produce your own body's natural melatonin. The only thing that will actually help you to do that is that Nomo Sleepless Nights wristband. Go try that first before you take these high volumes and feel super groggy the next day. Remember, when you are misusing them, sleep medication, they can actually end up developing in disturbed sleep pattern behaviors like sleeping while you're trying to drive, or even worse, people say that they roam around the house. This is not an adequate amount of REM sleep, and you will feel exhausted the very next day. The idea is, just like chapstick, if you are giving your lips so much oils, your body will stop producing the oils in your lips. Well, it's the same concept. If you're giving your body and you're ingesting a ton of melatonin, it's going to tell your glands to stop producing melatonin because, I got enough, right? The problem is that when you wean from it, your body will be craving it and need those high concentrations. So I suggest any and all things that you can do in the natural setting before going to these excessive alternatives. Well, we've reached that point in time where I hope that you feel like you've gotten the best answers for sleep, what pregnancy is about, and how physiologically it actually functions and determines a differential sleep pattern. What are those things that we can learn from the studies of cavemen and women as to light and how that can harvest and suppress your natural body sleeping abilities? And then, of course, all 4 of those incredible different natural remedies, from physiological mechanical positioning of how to sleep, which side you should flip over because of your vessels while you're pregnant, and even natural ways to help to increase your body's sleep every single night. Remember to get those 8.5 hours of sleep. I know you can do it. Wind the kids down, wind your brain down. Get a little open book, right? Because all of those things can help you to get the best night's sleep of your life. If you love Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, let me know with the 5-star hearts for likes. And don't forget to download this episode, but more importantly, share it with all your Prego friends. Thanks again for listening to Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 42, Pregnancy Affecting Sleep. Pukeology Podcast, edutainment at its finest.